The title of this video is Missing the Obvious, Why People Won't Heal. So I recently had the question, why don't I offer solutions in my videos about attachment trauma and about avoidant attachment? Well, if you are listening to how I'm breaking down the pathology, the defense mechanisms, the escapisms, the rationalizations, the self-gaslighting, and ultimately the delusion behind avoidant attachment, and many of the other mental health issues that people have in relationships, you will find the solution is between the lines. The solution is right there in my videos. You see, a lot of people are asking for techniques. Please, George, tell me, what should I do to heal from my anxiety and my fears? Well, a major key aspect of healing is insight, knowledge, self-awareness. If you know what you are doing, if you know why you're doing it, and you know what to do instead, that is a solution. So if I say somebody who suffers from avoidant attachment is somebody who creates rationalizations around being independent, around needing space, around not being able to tolerate people's presence, and I tell you why that is happening, I'm giving you the solution right there. So in my videos, the solutions, they're all there. But the problem is, and I notice this also in my Facebook posts and articles in general, when I do tell people what is going on, and whoever is suffering from whatever I'm talking about is coming to comment on my posts, they often tell me, hey George, can't you be more nice? Can't you be more compassionate? Can't you give me some solutions? When actually, the compassion is already there. The solution is already there. Problem is the person doesn't see it. It's not that I'm bad at explaining, which I'm obviously not. I mean, come on. I'm the best person in explaining that you'll probably find online. And I know this sounds very narcissistic, but to be honest, if I look online what people are saying, that is actually how I feel. So if you actually tell me that I'm not giving you a solution and I'm not being compassionate, you are not understanding what I'm saying. It's a listening issue. Because the issue isn't what I'm saying. The issue is, you can see what the problem is, you can see what the issue is, but you need me to tell you some kind of technique to stop lying to yourself, to stop making up lies around relationships, around your defense mechanisms, around your need to push people away, around your anxiety, your fear of enmeshment, your fear of abandonment. You want me to give you an instruction on how to stop the cycle, when the instruction is already there. So what is the instruction? If you suffer from fear of abandonment, all you need is to understand why the fear is there. And then you need to know what healthy action looks like. And that's exactly what I'm doing in these videos. You see, I'm telling people, this is why the person is afraid. This is what the avoidant experiences inside. And then I tell people, if you want to end this, All you have to do is to stop lying. All you have to do is to understand what is happening. I know it sounds too easy, but let me explain. If you understand why you are doing it, why you are toxic in your relationships, will you do it again? I mean, let's say you told a narcissist why they are gaslighting people, and the narcissist understands what they're doing, unless the narcissist is also a psychopath, unless the narcissist is, well, has no self-control, which is actually usually the case, the narcissist will not do this. I mean, if you tell a healthy person that what they are doing is wrong, and the person understands that it is wrong, the person's internal guilt mechanisms will start to kick in. The person's conscience will be activated. So let me clarify this. If you know that you are doing something wrong, your own conscience, your own nervous system will make it almost impossible to still do it. Because when you know you're doing something wrong, what happens is that your nervous system creates shame. It creates a shutdown response to stop that action, to short circuit the behavior. So your own body will automatically, without you having to do anything, you don't need any technique, you don't need any tricks, like I don't know, you need nothing. When you know you're doing something wrong, your body will not allow you to do it. So that is the solution. And that's exactly what I'm doing in these videos. But unfortunately, because I'm working with guilt, because I'm working with people's conscience, the healing often fails. Let me repeat this. Because I work with people's conscience, and I appeal to their conscience, I appeal to their sense of morality, to their ethics, to their sense of justice, it often fails. And the question is, why? It's simple. Because if you don't care that you're doing something wrong, then it doesn't matter what I tell you. Doesn't matter what technique I give you. Doesn't matter what solution I have to offer. When you don't care that you're doing something damaging to yourself and the people around you, nobody can help you. So you see what I'm doing in these videos by appealing to the person's guilt, by appealing to their shame and triggering it. I'm activating the body's most powerful mechanisms in this world to perform a different action. And when the most powerful mechanism fails, you come to my channel and you ask for compassion and you ask for solutions. You ask for techniques and tricks when I just used the most powerful technique that I could possibly think of. But it didn't work. Why? Again, because you don't care. So if you don't care, nothing will work. And this is why many people get stuck. It's an issue of will. It's an issue of the frontal lobe. It's an issue of identity. It's actually an identity disorder. to not care about reality, to not care about justice, to not care about what's right and wrong. There's actually nothing worse than that. So, when the foundation, the most fundamental core of the issue is already defect, and I'm throwing a little monkey wrench in there, and I'm trying to work with that, I'm doing the best I can here. So there are many therapists online, many coaches, who offer all kinds of solutions. When you go to a marketplace and you don't find what you're looking for, because everybody's looking for something, right? Do you blame the vendor for not having the market products that you want? Or do you go to a different vendor? Because that's the issue. I offer a specific product. You see? I offer the product of conscience. That's what I'm working with. I'm working with the most primitive aspects of a personality. I'm working with Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is conjunction my sun, and that is what you're interacting with. When you are coming to my shop and you are purchasing my products, you're watching my videos, you're listening to my content, you're reading my posts, you're reading Lilith. I know it sounds funny, but Lilith works with shame and guilt. And if that is something that you're not willing to tolerate, if you don't want to work with your shame and guilt, if you don't want to work with your shadow, the most repressed, the most uncomfortable parts of yourself, which ironically, because they're so uncomfortable, they're also the most powerful, then you come to me and you complain that I should give you more compassion and more solutions. You see, that is not what I'm offering. So, when healing isn't working, you need to ask yourself, what kind of healing are you looking for? Do you even know what you want? Because for me, with Lilith, Sun, Venus, Mercury, all in the 12th house of the dissolution of the ego, where the ego is humbled, where the ego is weakened, where Lilith works with shame. Healing for me is to look at my shame, to look at my guilt, not to avoid it, but to use it. Because that is rocket fuel. To feel guilty about where I am in my life, about what I'm doing, to me there's nothing more motivating to change than to feel so bad about what I'm doing that I'm no longer able to tolerate it. And if you think that this form of healing isn't for you, then you need to ask yourself what is for you, and you need to find what is for you somewhere else. Because my entire YouTube channel, my entire page, everything that I do, I work with the dark aspects of your personality. The aspects that are repressed, the aspects we don't like to look at, because they make us very uncomfortable. They're triggering. And when somebody comes along like me, these triggered, fragmented aspects of our soul, they're going to project themselves onto me. So anything you see on my channel, every time you watch my videos, if you look at me, if you look at how I'm speaking, the tone of my voice, how I explain things, even if you are very healthy, At some point you will absolutely project your own shadow onto me, and you will think that there's something wrong with me. You will think the issue is with me because I'm not being nice, not being sweet, or there's something else that I'm doing wrong. Whatever it is, when that happens, I want you to do a little experiment, a little quiz. I want you to ask yourself what you think that I'm doing. Have you ever done that yourself? Are you familiar with what you think that I lack? Are you familiar with what you think my problem is? Because you see, that's a defense mechanism. That's a defense mechanism to deflect from our own shadow by seeing the shadow of ourselves in the other person. Which, when our shadow is identified, it gets very uncomfortable. And you know, misery loves company. And this is why often, when we work with triggers, something happens to therapists that is called transference. The therapist absorbs the shame, the guilt, the triggers, the discomfort of the client. Because the therapist becomes the target of the client's shadows. And the shadows are transferred onto the therapist, upon which the therapist, because the therapist archetypically plays the parent, the therapist is considered to be an abuser. Yeah, because that is what the subconscious does. The subconscious is trying to connect the present to the past. All the time. Whoever we see, whether you're watching my videos or my articles, your subconscious will look for you inside me. And when you don't like something that I'm doing, your subconscious is very likely to project yourself or somebody that you've known, like a parent, onto me. Because that's what the therapist does. That's just what happens in therapy. So that's normal. So this is why I know exactly what is happening here if somebody comes to my page and tells me that I'm not being nice, that I'm being argumentative, that I'm being hostile, or I lack compassion, and blah, 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 blah. You know, when the human AI is doing its thing, and we want to blame the person who's calling out the human AI, projecting all kinds of malicious intentions, all kinds of mental health issues, all kinds of emotional problems, all kinds of dysregulation, everything dirty, everything shameful is projected upon the messenger, the therapist. And this happens completely automatically. The unconscious does this because that's what it does. It projects the past. So this process of shadow projection is normal when we do shadow work. I mean, that's what I'm working here. I mean, what do you expect? So, of course, it is perfectly normal for me to get these reactions. And then people, they feel stuck in their healing. And they feel like I'm explaining, I'm telling them what is happening inside a person, but it's just not good enough. It's like I have to do more. Okay, well, if you want me to do more, why don't you ask a question? Why don't you give me a suggestion in the comments or the post below to tell me what is it that you want me to do? So let's see the comments here in my life. How to stop the cycle, go no contact with a narcissist. Yeah. Well, you will find that many people that project, actually most people, they don't have to be narcissists. Like even regular people, also people who have avoidant attachment style, but just the people in general, really. You don't even need to use any label. Even you, like even like a healthy person, like even me, I notice that even I do this sometimes. That not I, but my subconscious, my body is projecting that the person I'm listening to is like me, but like the unhealed version of me. And unfortunately, this is also a way that we can create distance between us and the other person, and we can devalue them. And this especially happens in with people in position of authority. So if somebody is an authority and they have something very useful or valuable to say, the quickest way to dethrone them, to stop listening to them, if it's uncomfortable for some reason, is to just project some malicious intention onto them, or just project that they are less healed than we are, so why should I listen? And usually it is going to project some kind of a character flaw onto the person. And the character flaw that I get most frequently is that I'm selfish, that I lack compassion, that I'm dangerous, that I'm evil somehow. Well, I have Sun conjunction Lilith. I mean, that's what happens to Lilith. So Lilith gets vilified and demonized when she's being there, when she's being herself. So while I'm being completely irrational, no emotions, no dysregulation, no personal issues of any kind with whoever's listening to this. But again, the projections don't stop, so I understand that this is what I'm working with. So what to do? Well, the way that I deal with projections is that I talk about them like it's nothing personal. Like it's just a defense mechanism. It's like a machine. Like you're dealing with a computer. The computer has a virus, like a Trojan horse. And the Trojan horse is trying to take over the computer. It's running in the background. So what do? You run the diagnostics, the diagnostic program. You run the malware software, which means you scan for the Trojan horse. You identify what it is, what it looks like, where it's hiding, what it's doing, and you describe it. That way you pin it down. And then the Trojan horse has nowhere left to run. So that's how I deal with it. And actually, most of the time that works. To be honest with you, 80% of the time, this only doesn't work with narcissists. And because most people are not narcissists, this works with most people. Because when you use the right language, when you articulate things the right way, that's going to help to deliver the message. When the other person and their nervous system has no choice but to recognize that you don't care. You're just talking about the computer program, and you are showing through your understanding that you do know what you're talking about. And when the other person still disagrees, still projects, that person is going to feel cognitive dissonance, and they're going to feel shame and guilt for still trying to project some kind of malicious intention onto you when it is a bit too obvious that is not what you have. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work, but most of the time. In order to feel guilty, one needs to have the ability to empathize. Yeah, of course. Well, not all my content is about narcissism. 90% of my recent videos are about avoidant attachment style. Avoidants have a conscience. They can experience guilt. So it does work with them. Of course, there's still resistance, but it does work, I find. But yeah, I don't even I am not going to appeal to a narcissist guild. Like, of course, it's a lost cause. I find it difficult not to react to their games. Okay, so if you find it difficult to react to a person's mind games, to their attempt to try to control you, to provoke you, to disturb you, to dysregulate you, the best thing that helps me is to know exactly what is happening. To explain why are they doing it, what are they trying to achieve. Because if there is a part of you that doubts yourself, that's how they can dysregulate you and trigger you. A person can only have power over you if there's a part inside of you that's working with them. I know you have an ugly history. How long did the shadow process take from start to balance? Yeah, an ugly history. You could say that. Maybe I should do another video about this another time. But yeah. Yeah, sure. I will message you to give you more information about my somatic services. Because I do somatic embodiment to work with the nervous system. Because while it is very helpful to have all this insight and understand how healing works and why healing gets blocked, you also need the tools to actually work with the emotions that come up. So when you are being triggered, what to do about it in that somatic experiencing. Men and women are different sometimes too on projections. Yeah, for sure. Like men, I find in my experience have a tendency to project anger a lot onto you. Like I'm so angry and like I'm so arrogant. They usually project the wounded masculine. The wounded masculine is a bully. The wounded masculine is a tyrant. So men usually project that. If you are working with women, the most common projections are the wounded feminine, which is to project that you are trying to manipulate someone, you're lying, or you're trying to hide something, or you're after their money, you're after their possessions, you're after their sex, or something. But what else do people project? Ah, yes, lack of compassion. Yeah, I know I have to laugh about it because I do get this a lot, you know. But usually when I do, it's either from a woman or from a feminine person, like a feminine man. Because usually the feminine man has experienced exactly that, a lack of compassion in his life. So that's familiar. So when he is triggered, that nervous system trigger, where does it come from? Originally, not me, but originally, a lack of compassion. So wherever your triggers originally come from, whenever you are triggered again, whether it's true or not, your brain is just going to associate that's what you're dealing with. Of course, it's normal. For example, let's talk about me. I experience a lot of shaming, like prosecution, like there's something wrong with me, like I'm evil and stuff like that. So my subconscious, when it sees somebody who also talks about very dark subjects, I will notice that sometimes my subconscious projects, oh, that they must have experienced feeling evil too. And at some point it even can happen, and this is rarely, but it does happen, that I feel that the other person is actually evil. Even when they're absolutely 100% not, and I'm sure of that. But I will still feel that. Because feelings are to be questioned. Feelings are not based on reality, feelings are based on the past. And what is reality? We need discernment. to dig through those feelings, to filter those feelings out. Because there's a lot of garbage that happens in our body. It's not always true. This is why we often get paranoid. We have fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, shame. We feel that the other person is mistreating us, and we feel that it's our fault for being mistreated. So we experience garbage feelings that are completely false, not based on reality at all, not even a little bit, all the time. So if this happens all the time, why are we acting like our feelings are a source of reality? No, they're not. What is a source of reality is something deeper. A friend of mine calls it the spark. I call it instinct. You have an instinct that when you use it through the frontal lobe, Aries point, the third eye, you can identify what's really going on. But the only way to activate instinct is through doubt. First, you have to doubt your feeling. Then you have to doubt what you're thinking. And then you have to accept how you feel through your instinct. How, I know this is difficult to explain, but is different from just being triggered or just getting a sense of somebody or just a feeling about somebody. The third eye is the vanguard, the protector, the warrior principle, the Aries point that checks, that confirms, that identifies that what you're seeing is reality. And if you suffered frontal lobe damage, like a narcissist, or if you suffered a lot of trauma, if you have ADHD, if you have autism, or a history of dissociation, then the frontal lobe is damaged. I mean physically, like literally, that part of the brain is statistically, scientifically proven to be damaged in people who suffered a lot of dissociation in their life. If that's the case, then it takes some practice to engage that. But let's say you're somebody who doesn't have frontal lobe problems. Let's say your third eye is working properly. Then you probably almost never dissociate. Me personally, I never dissociate. I don't remember the last time I dissociated. I just don't. Why? Because the moment I don't like how I feel about something, I activate myself, my higher self. I embody. I scan my body. I focus. I sense. And in doing this, the frontal lobe is very active. Just by you questioning what you're experiencing, just by you checking, looking around, checking with reality, is this what's really going on? Your frontal lobe is activated. You are training your third eye just by wondering, is this real? By the way, this is different from gaslighting. Not to be confused with gaslighting, where you're like, my sense of reality is wrong. There's something wrong with me. I am dysfunctional. I am evil. That's not what I'm talking about. When you're questioning reality, you're not questioning yourself. You're questioning what you're sensing, what you're feeling, but never ever you. And what is you? The awareness. So you never question that any of the information that you see isn't happening. That's what narcissists do. That's what gaslighting does. Gaslighting says, no, what you're sensing, what you're feeling in your body isn't really what's going on. You're dysfunctional, your brain isn't working. That's gaslighting. But if your frontal lobe is working, then 10 out of 10 times, 100% of the time, what you're sensing is actually happening. Not in reality, like not necessarily out there, but inside here, in your body. So, questioning your perception? No. I do not ever question my perception. I question what I'm feeling, yes, but not me. And that's the difference between gaslighting and healthy discernment. Gaslighting questions you have a problem, which is identity, right? Identity is frontal lobe, third eye. You are third eye. And healthy discernment questions, is my body really correct about this? That's you who's asking that. Third eye. So I hope it makes sense, yeah. Why, by the way, do I talk so much about the third eye? Like, why is it so important? It's number one. And I know I'm probably the only channel on the entirety of YouTube who talks about that. That's very sad, actually, very sad, but what to do? So let's get some basics out of the way, because I haven't done any other video about this, so let me explain this to you if you're watching this video, so you understand all of my videos after what I'm going to say to you next. Identity, which is sense of self, which is your perception of reality, is entirely 100%, not 90%, 900% controlled by this part of the brain. And if this part of the brain is compromised, even a little bit, whether it's chemicals in the brain, heavy metals, fluoride, or trauma of dissociation, or ADHD, yeah, I'm talking about ADHD, and autism, if any of this is going on, the frontal lobe is damaged. And that's a big problem. Because your sense of self, your connection to the divine, is damaged through this part of the body. So that's why, before you do anything else, whether it's working through your relationship issues, healing from past trauma, making decisions in your life, finances, health, doesn't matter what it is, you need to make sure that you are actually there, like that you are working, that you are here, that your decision making is functioning properly. So you need to repair this first. And how to do that? You need to work with your identity. And this is what I call identity reconstruction therapy. This is why narcissism, by the way, is an identity disorder. They say it's a personality disorder, but that's an outdated, antiquated term. It's an identity disorder. The narcissist doesn't know who he is. The narcissist doesn't believe his own perception of reality. That's why he's not living in reality. That's why he's delusional. That's why no matter what logic you say to him, no matter how you explain things, it's not working. There's nobody there. The soul is not there. The frontal lobe is completely shut down. So if you attract narcissists in your life, if you have issues with narcissists, if you have issues with people who for some reason don't see reality, but you are convinced that you do, chances are you do have issues with this part of the body. Because you are resonating, you are attracting, you are interacting with somebody who has frontal lobe damage, who has an identity disorder. So why would somebody who's healthy in their sense of self, who can see things clearly, who doesn't fall for the gaslighting, who's operating in reality, why would somebody like that interact with somebody that's not living in reality, can't see anything, is delusional, is not here, but doesn't work? It's just, it does not correlate. So that's actually what I found. So I know this can be triggering for a lot of people, but this is at the issue of, that's at the core of codependency. This is why many people who have prominent Libra placements Libra South Node, Libra Moon, Libra Sun. I have Libra Moon, so I know what I'm talking about. They often have these issues, but also like Pisces placements, but never mind. The issue is, if you are compatible with something that's not compatible with you, if you're interacting with that, there's something wrong with you. Because that's what I found. There was actually something wrong with me. I didn't have a healthy identity. I wasn't sure about myself. Was constantly questioning my self-esteem, feeling bad about my decisions. Oh no, look at me, being evil again, deserving to be abandoned again. I mean, really? Does anybody deserve abandonment? Unless they are the ones who do the abandoning. No, of course not. And I was never the one doing the abandoning. So my perception of reality was compromised. My frontal lobe was not working properly at all. Why? Because I learned in childhood not to use the frontal lobe, to dissociate, to ignore what's happening, because what was happening was just way too painful. I couldn't deal with reality, because reality was that I was living in hell. And when you're living in hell, reality sucks. So why should you want to look into that? Of course you don't, right? So that's why avoidant attachment style is born from that. ADHD, autism, is born from that. Is a defense against reality. It's an attempt of the brain to shut down your third eye, which is you. It's a way to leave your body. It's a way to abandon yourself, to abandon reality, because reality sucks. Why would you deal with reality if you don't like it? So that's the issue. If you are attracting a narcissist or an emotionally unavailable person, or an avoidant, you're dealing with somebody who is avoiding, as the name suggests, reality. It's only going to be compatible with somebody who is doing the same. Period. So that's what we have to work on. That's what we have to talk about. That's why all of my videos talk about fantasy defense. All the defense mechanisms that we have, even shame is a fantasy defense. Of course it is. I mean, feeling ashamed about your naked body, about your facial features, about your breasts, about the size of your body, about how you treat other people. Yeah, okay. You could question that, but guilt is already there. You have a conscience. If your conscience works, why do you need shame? Why do you need to feel that there's something wrong with you when the issue is never you? You are a soul. You are God incarnate. Something wrong with God? No. So shame is a delusional defense, because shame tells you there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with God. Oh, that's bad. Shame is based on the belief that there's something wrong with reality. That's why narcissism is a shame disorder. And you can Google this online, you can research this. The core of narcissism is an extreme amount of shame, which is what we say in Germany, Gotteslästerung. Do you know what that means, Gotteslästerung? It means heresy against God. It means worshipping the devil. It means that you believe that fantasy is reality. You believe that reality sucks. Of course reality doesn't suck. The reality that you are infinite. And this is only temporary, and once you're out of here, you can do whatever you want. You are completely free to go as you please. And the fun never stops. That reality is pretty damn good. Like, that's ideal. But of course, we can't confirm that. We're not sure of that. So we're always operating with the unknown. We're never sure about reality. So if you can't be sure about reality, there's going to always be a degree of fantasy. The less you know about yourself, about your body, about what you feel, the more you are operating in fantasy and less in reality. That's why, again, it's an identity issue. And that's what you also find if you work with psychedelics, if you leave your body, if you become psychotic. Also people who have schizophrenia, people who have bipolar disorder or any kind of other psychotic disorder, they have an identity disorder. They are rejecting reality unconsciously. They don't like reality. So their body has learned to shut down the ability to perceive reality, to interact with reality. Why should we interact with something that we don't like? That doesn't work for us, doesn't give us any beneficial outcomes, nothing is working. So we don't want to. The body shuts down. So let's see here, comments. So it's not your feelings or your thoughts, it's like higher self. Yeah, the higher self is the third eye, is the God spark, the Aries point. That's what I call it in astrology. I know, I made that up, by the way, it doesn't exist. But Aries point, I love to call it that, because in draconic astrology, the astrology of the soul, the North Node is always at 0 degrees of Aries. The North Node is the person's destiny. The person's destiny in draconic astrology is Aries. Aries is the self. The self? False self? No, the true self. The God spark. Because it's the first thing that incarnates. The first thing that is manifesting into reality. Which is, of course, you. You are the first thing. The soul. So, identity is Aries. Aries is in the forehead, ram, which is why it's the third eye. So if you see somebody, the eyes, Mars, you need to be able to discern if this person is going to threaten your family, your clan, if this is an ally or an enemy. If you are dealing with emotionally unavailable people, if you are constantly attracting these people or narcissists or avoidance, the truth is you are attracting enemies. Enemies to who? Enemies to reality. Enemies to what's happening in the body, whether it's their body or your body. You're attracting somebody who's neglectful. You're attracting somebody who refuses to deal with you. They want to deal with they deal with the idea of you, the pedestal of you, the false self, which is why they make you feel anxious. They make you feel like you're not good enough, because only perfection, only somebody who's a fantasy is good enough for them. A fantasy, a pedestal. Somebody who rejects their emotions and only caters to their emotions. Like a dumping ground. Like a trash can. Somebody who is also emotionally unavailable, but who's going to give them everything they want. I mean, such a person doesn't exist. A servant doesn't exist. But that's exactly what an emotionally unavailable person wants. That's exactly what a narcissist wants. A provider of services. Money, sex, validation. Unfortunately, if you suffer from avoidant attachment style, your subconscious, your body, is only going to settle for a service provider. Which is why you deal with relationships in a transactional manner. You don't want commitments. Because, if you make a commitment, you sign a contract. It's like signing a lease, like paying the rent. But you don't want to pay the rent. You want to gain the benefits from the house. You want to live in the house, but you don't want to pay for the house. Right? Because you want to get a good deal. Which is a service provider somebody who serves your needs without you feeling the pressure of having to serve their needs long term. You want a one-sided relationship. You want a fantasy, a perfect partner, a servant. Of course, if you have avoidant attachment style, not you, but your body, your subconscious, which is pathological, is mentally ill, is deranged, is lunatic, is demonic, is evil, is devil worshipped. But of course, we don't want to use these terms because we don't want to feel guilt. We don't like guilt. We don't like our own conscience. We don't like morality. We don't like justice. We don't like reality. So conscience deals with reality. Conscience is trying to determine, are you doing something wrong or are you doing something right? The Aries point, Libra, Aries, the axis of justice, the axis of relationships, the axis of the law, police, law enforcement, criminal defense. Aries, your lawyer. The lawyer inside of you is activated by my videos. And if you feel triggered by my videos, if you don't like my videos, you don't like yourself. You don't like your own lawyer, your own conscience. So that's what we call preaching. When Cancer, Sun and Rising, is getting emotional because I like a bit of drama. Because sometimes you need to get a little bit dramatic. When you're realizing this is what's happening, people don't like their own conscience. They don't like their own guilt because they don't want to be wrong. It creates dissonance. It threatens the identity. If the identity is weak, aka if your lawyer is weak, the moment it gets uncomfortable for your lawyer is going to leave. It's going to leave the courthouse. It's going to leave you high and dry with nobody to defend you, with nobody to enforce your sense of reality. So when you say, oh, I need more solutions, Georgie, Porgy, lovely, dear boy, Cancer boy, give me compassion, pamper me, because my lawyer has left the building and I need you to bring him back, give him some compassion. My lawyer is so weak, he needs to be pampered. I don't give a shit how weak your lawyer is. No. Of course, I understand what the problem is. So, what to do? You see, it's like I'm being made responsible for the other person's weakness. I am blamed when the own identity of a person is feeling uncomfortable because I'm talking about reality. So you blame reality. Ooh. So that's very uncomfortable. Again, it triggers the shame. It triggers the person's sense of shame because deep down inside they feel there's something wrong with them. And I remind them of that. So they project onto me the prosecutor, the devil, the evil parent who's trying to shame them, make them feel bad again for being a failure. Is that what I'm doing? That's what it feels like if the person's shame is triggered. So the person wants to run away. It gets very uncomfortable, yeah? So then I laugh because it's funny to me, because I know exactly what's happening. I've been through that. I have Sun conjunction Lilith. You want to talk about shame to me? Baby, I know all about shame. Yeah, so if you feel like nobody's protecting you, like you are not protecting you, you're not standing up for yourself, is your identity that's weak. Your identity is your inner lawyer, your conscience. What does that mean? That means your conscience is working against you. Instead of telling you, hey honey, listen girl, you need to make boundaries with that man because that man is being neglectful, he's mistreating you. Don't you know what your worth is? What are you doing tolerating this shit show? That's your conscience. If your conscience is not doing that automatically, the moment the first red flag pops up in your mind, you might want to deal on the defense of yours. The healthy defense. This is what I call the protector. I call this the inner masculine. You need a feminine, which is your intuition, your senses, your body. But who's going to stand up when the feminine is threatened? When your emotions are ignored? When your sense of self is gaslit, questioned, challenged, torn down, and you become the villain in the other person's story? Who's defending you? The man. Look at me, I'm a man. No, I'm not really. Because I'm a feminine dominant. I barely have any fire in my chat. Don't come to me. No, I'm just joking. No, really. It's the man inside of you that's going to protect you against that man, that's emotionally unavailable man, outside of you. Yeah. So man up. Get the man strong. If you want to attract a healthy man, a high value man, girl, you need to look at the man inside of you. If you don't have a healthy man inside of you, how are you going to attract it outside of you? I mean, as above, so below, as within, so without. Honey, what you meet outside of yourself, it's telling you something about you. If your inner man isn't there, why are you expecting your outer man to be there? Like, if your inner man isn't there for you, like, why would they be there for you? Like, And this is, of course, what happened to me. And this is why I've been dealing with emotionally unavailable men for a long time, for many years. I mean, most of my life, I've been dealing with those. Because my inner man wasn't there. I'm a feminine dominant. I had to learn this the hard way. Because my father is very feminine. My mother was only a toxic masculine. Never known what a healthy masculine looks like. Never seen somebody validate me, acknowledge me, care about me, protect me. Only the feminine supported me. So my intuition is strong. My sense is, girl, you know that man is neglecting you. Okay, I can see that, but am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Do I deserve being neglected? And if you're questioning that, honey, that man, he's playing you. He's having a field day. He's having a feast, that energy vampire. A feast. How to fix the identity? You do that too, or do you have any resources? Yeah, I do that. I call it identity reconstruction therapy. I work with your family trauma. It is a somatic embodiment session. And I can send you the PDF if you're interested in that. So if you're interested in my services, if you want to heal your identity issues, you can message me anytime. We can work through your issues, through your natal chart, your blueprint, and then we can do a session. I work with something called internal family system. Your family is inside of you. But your family is supposed to take care of you, right? So if your family didn't properly take care of you, if your family was emotionally neglectful or something, that's what you carry with you. And that's exactly what I fix in those sessions. If you're interested, you can check that out. You can message me any given time, messenger or email. And of course, you can message me also for personal readings, astrology readings. Because in the astrology readings, I talk about all the inheritance from your family, all the mental health issues, all the identity issues that you could have, but also the strengths, that which you're already good at, the gifts that you're supposed to embody. It's all in your chart. When I talk about the cosmic clock, your chart, I talk about the chart of the identity. That's, by the way, that's what I'm working with, because my own chart is actually reflecting what I'm doing. Because I have an Aries midhaven, of course I do, since that's all I'm talking about is identity, relationship issues. I have a Libra moon as the chart ruler. Libra is my chart ruler, and Aries is my career ruler. So that's all I focus on. And Saturn is conjunction my midhaven. So Saturn is time. Time is astrology, your birth time, your birth chart. But Aries is identity. That's why your chart is a chart of your identity. Right? Because it's you. It's you, how you want to show up. What you want to do, what you can do. But also what stands in your way. Your enemies, your allies, your strengths, your weaknesses. It's all there. So this is why it's like a mental health diagnosis, astrology. And anybody who doesn't study psychology, who doesn't research identity disorders, who doesn't even care about identity, wants to give you a reading on the chart of your identity, get out of here. I don't think so. So, of course, I actually got into astrology after I was doing somatic embodiment and inner family systems therapy. When I found out that most of my clients that I was working with in therapy, they had issues with themselves. Yeah, every issue, financially, relationship, it was of course always about them, right? Like it always comes back to you. Something about how you look at yourself, how you perceive yourself, how you feel about yourself, your beliefs about yourself. And if you tolerate being neglected, abandoned, emotionally unavailable people, is because you feel on some level that you deserve it. That this is good enough for you. This is what you're used to. So your level of tolerance and what you attract, what you're compatible with, it's all there in the identity. Why? The Aries-Libra axis, well, Aries is on the same axis as Libra. Libra is relationship. The relationship is founded on your identity, on you. You are in charge of a relationship. There's no relationship without you. Right? How they say it takes two to tango. Well, it takes one person to be an abuser sometimes and the other person to tolerate it. Or it takes one person to be an abuser and the other person to perform a trauma bond and cooperate with the abuser in a service provider role, in a symbiotic bond, in which the abuser is like a drug trader. Like he's selling you drugs, he's selling you validation, comfort, financial security, and in return, you sell them your soul. Like you're dealing with a devil. That's why identity disorders are devil worship. I repeat it all the time in my videos. Identity disorder, issues of reality. You know, there's a gap, a sufficient enough gap to create a lot of problems and chaos in your life between you and how you perceive reality. Whether it's the reality of other people or yourself, is the same. If you can perceive yourself well, you probably perceive other people very well too. And if you don't, yeah. Anyways, talked about that enough. So I think I'm going to finish it here. If you liked me to talk about any more issues, anything that relates to identity, anything that you find to have a personal problem in your relationships or your life with yourself, leave a like, leave a comment. I like to answer requests to do videos. And if you're interested in my services, you can reach out at any given time, whether through Messenger or email. And if you like this video and you want to watch more of these videos, then I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.